Hey YouTube, got the Vmax here in the garage. This bike is for sale, but I'm gonna go ahead and swap the forks on it after I took it out and rode it. This fork basically blew back out, I think due to the pitting around here. I don't know how well that's gonna pick up, but there's some pretty nasty pitting along the back side there. You can kind of see it. But anyway, some pretty nasty pitting, and you guys can see on this fork how far up that actually can go when you hit pretty good bumps. So you're getting all the way up into some of this stuff. So I think those rough edges messed up the seal on it again, and yeah, this is kind of the aftermath. It's been sitting for a week, so you can see how nasty down the brake lines and kind of all over the rear fender there. So got the new forks, or new used forks. These are off an 05. They look really clean. The chrome up on the top looks really nice. So I'm gonna go ahead and put these on. I'm not sure what kind of shape these are. Hell, they may leak too, but these you could definitely, whoever buys it could rebuild if they do need to be rebuilt. So I'm gonna go ahead, set up the camera, and start pulling this front end off. At this point, I ought to be pretty good at it. I think I've had this off 3 or 4 times, so we'll see how well this goes. But cut back here in just a minute. Okay guys, got pretty much everything set out here that I'm gonna need. First, gonna start by taking off the little bolt that tightens down against the axle bolt. So I'll pull it off and pull the actual axle bolt out as well. So this up here. This is a 13mm here. So I'm gonna pull it out. This is a 19 on the axle. Actually get wrap it real quick. I'm gonna go ahead and leave it in until I pull these calipers off. The caliper bolts are also 13s. Bolts on. I believe those top ones are 8s. I thought I had everything set out here, but I guess I forgot these. So these are 8mm. Just the little lines that hold your brake lines in place here. Basically what you guys can see on that side, I'm doing the exact same thing here on the opposite side. It's identical. So at this point, you should be able to drop, let your rotors come back. Pair of pliers real quick to pull off your speedometer cable here. And all this can kind of just fall back and all the way. And at this point, you can pull your axle. I've got the jack underneath this, just taking a little bit of pressure off the front. It's on the center stand, just enough to get the wheel off the ground. So pull the axle out, set it here on the ground, and tire will pull off front. So now I'm going to go ahead and pull these top bolts out on the fender. So these four here, these are all 10s. I'm going to pull those out. That will basically separate these forks. And then you've got these two clamps, bolts here, clamp bolt up there. Those are 6 mil. Loosen those up. Fork will pull off the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead. I'll set the camera back up here. Try to get these pulled off. So that fender isn't going to come out without dropping your forks down, just so you guys. It's kind of a pain in the butt if you don't realize that. I've had this together, I think the first time I had everything put on and I thought I could set the fender in after. And you cannot. You have to pull, you have to drop the wheel because you can't even get the bolts on the bottom side if you go that route. So just so you guys know. Just causes a little more work. If you don't know it, you put it all together and pull it back. Again, like I said, I think I've done this 3 times already, so I've kind of figured it out. Wiggle these down. Once you get them. Yeah, you might want to try catching your fender, but it's a plastic fender, so it's not gonna hurt too bad there. So yeah, that's pretty much it as far as getting these out. It's not too bad. So I'm gonna set these over here to the side. Camera back up here real quick. So yeah, it's not a whole lot to getting the forks off. One thing I do have to do on these forks is pull this top little cap off. These just hand tied on. It covers up the little air ports on these. So I'm gonna go ahead and get the stickers off of these and the tape peeled off these real quick and get those on, and then I'll cut back as I start putting this all back together. All right, got these forks ready. You can see how bad these were. I mean, they were rough, really, really rough. So they needed replaced. Like I said, I was trying to get by, but you can see how bad that pitting is in there. I think it's picking up, and I'm sure that's what got that gasket. So you can see this fork here. These are literally perfect as far as the chrome on them. So we'll go ahead, start the process of putting these back on. I'm gonna go ahead and set the camera up here and try to get this to where you guys can see maybe everything. Maybe. So kind of how I do this, you do need to pay attention to what side this needs to be your, if you're on the bike, this would be the right side standing in front. The left has the threaded portion. So I'm gonna go ahead and slip it in just a little ways. Let it hang there. Same thing with the right side. That bolt, you guys remember I pulled out, goes to the front. So we'll go ahead and kind of get that started in there. And we'll probably have to wiggle these around a little bit to get this fender back in. Wipe some of this fork oil off of this again for the umpteenth time. But if anybody's wondering, like these forks, I kind of waited around. That's one reason I hadn't bought any for a while, was just due to the cost. So I did wait on these. These came up. They're in really good shape. They fit this bike at the black lowers, which what it came with. And then get the forks in like this here. Basically, on the bottom of this fender, it's got a arrow, or maybe it's on this plate. I thought it had an arrow somewhere. Maybe it doesn't. I think on the bottom of the plate it has an arrow. It says which direction's front. But anyway, it goes in this piece to the back. So if you guys forget, it goes in that direction. So and also on these forks, I actually picked these up for a really good price. I kind of waited for a while on these because they had a few online, but they were pretty pricey, and to find the right ones with the black lowers and whatnot, it actually took a little bit. So I kind of held out for a little bit. These came on. I think these were listed at like $300, and I ended up getting them for $200. So $200 for these, not bad. And you don't want to tighten these all the way down. I actually got this one too tight. You want to leave them loose until you get everything started and back up on the bike. So go ahead. I know I dropped one of these bolts somewhere down on the ground too, so I'll have to find it. Somewhere over there. So if you guys kind of wait out, make an offer, eBay, you can normally get some pretty good deals. Like I said, these particular forks were off in 05, which is basically 05, 06, 07 are all pretty much identical bikes. 05 had a little different paint scheme. I think it was red and black versus the black and red flames. But so get this kind of loose, don't tighten it all the way up. And you're just gonna work these forks on up through, up to the top. Once you kind of get one in place, you can get it kind of lined up where you want. I'll show you guys here in a second how I line these up. Snug one up and hold it in place. I don't know if there's really a right or wrong place to put these forks. I think it's kind of personal preference a little bit. So just so you guys can see where I line them up, I basically put them right there at the bottom of that lip. You see that on both sides, and get them identical, and then just tighten them up. So at that point, you can tighten up your fender bolts as well, and this little stabilizer brace. Tighten all this up, and then we can start putting the calipers and actually the wheel back in. So I'm going to go ahead and finish tightening up these forks. I'm sure there's a torque setting. I actually put these on number 2 on my impact. Tighten them down as tight as I can get them, and then I'll go back over them with the wrench here in a second. Snug, good tight. Like I said, I'll hit these clamps real quick and make sure they're good and tight. All tightened up. Now we can slip the wheel back in place here. Again, putting this wheel in, you've got to get it just right. I'll kind of show this here in just a second after I get it put up in here. But on this side of the bike, the speedometer, actually a little speedometer piece has a kind of a groove in it. That has to go up into place. So you got to make sure you get that lined up. There's the speedometer on one side and the spacer on the other side of the bike here, which I'll try to show you guys. And this fork came with a pinch bolt down here, but I'm not going to use that. Battery's going dead on my impact here. I'll have to probably retighten that, but I'll kind of show you guys what I was talking about here. So on this side, you've got your little spacer that goes in here. On this side, you got your speedometer. If you look up there on the very top, there's a groove in that fork, or a little nub that sticks out, and you've got to get that in the right place. Keeps your speedometer gear from spinning in circles. So So yeah, got that all on. I'll again go back over all this. My impact battery's going dead, so I'm gonna go back over it, make sure everything's tight, throw this pinch bolt here back in, which is either one of these two, because like I said, this one came with it. So go ahead here, try to get this all put together. Well, maybe she yeah, might get completely died. So let me get another battery here, and I'll cut back. Okay guys, got this bolt, got the battery changed on my impact, got this tightened up, actually hit this again. So now we're to the point where all I got left is putting these calipers in speedo bracket. So basically your calipers here, you just want to get them kind of started here on the rotor, and you can slide these up into place here. And just go ahead and kind of get your bolts started into both of them, like so. Oops. Yeah, that's the right size. Again, I put this on 2 when tightening these down, so I'll snug those down. And then I'll go back and hit those here in just a second. So next you want to put this little 8mm back in. Maybe I can do this with one hand, maybe I can't. And I'm going to say no, I can't. We have to put the camera down here, guys. Just a second here. Go. So I'll snug that down. Again, make sure these caliper bolts are tight. They feel really good. Put the speedometer gear, and you can wiggle this wheel a little bit or roll it to get that started. So there's a pair of pliers here. Tighten that down. So that pretty much takes care of that side. Again, not a whole lot to it. So we'll do the same thing on this side. Again, like I said earlier, guys, this side is basically identical. Again, get your calipers or your brake pads spread apart. Slip it up onto your rotor, slide it up into place there, and then should be able to go ahead and get these started. So once you get these both started, snug them down, and then we'll move on again. Yeah, babe. Maybe a little bit. Maybe a little bit. You go out to the edge of the road and climb.
What was that?
I think the tire popped.
That was funny.
Yeah, the tire on the stroller popped.
No.
So yeah, I don't know if you guys could hear that on the camera or not, but some people were walking down the road and their stroller front wheel popped. Sounded like a gun going off. I think the kids were a little nervous. So make sure. So that is pretty much it as far as changing out the front forks on the bike. So night and day difference as far as how these look. So I don't know how long this took me. Pretty much I videoed the whole process, so we'll see. It's probably maybe 30 minutes, maybe. Again, if this is your first time, it might take a little longer, but honestly, it's not that hard to do. So at that point, you're basically ready to go test it all out. Make sure that the speedometer and everything is working correctly, and go from there. So if you guys have any questions on this, feel free to ask, and we'll catch you guys in the next one. Thanks again.